Yes, the question I have, I mean, Iran obviously has a rich legal and constitutional history for many centuries, not just in the current regime. Um, a couple of related questions to what you've discussed. One, to what degree would you say the Iranian people uh, have an awareness generally of international human rights and the rights guaranteed to them under those instruments? To what degree do they have access to the internet? I know you both have talked about a lot about the internet and what that offers. In certain countries, certainly there's blocking of the internet. I'm wondering if you've come across any of that in Iran. Thirdly, and more generally, I'm interested, to what degree do you think, what are the hopes of actually achieving reform from within? And I'm wondering what your views are about the democracy programs, like whether the U.S. democracy programs, if you share the same views expressed by some of our other panelists.
And if you could each answer it with less than 1 minute. Who wants to go first? Yeah.
Well, in less than 1 minute, yes, Iran has a rich legal history. There has been a regression. One of the embodiments of it is Shirin Ebadi, who was a woman judge who was disqualified from the bench. So there's been a clear regression, and the judiciary has become an instrument of repression. All the political prisoners are prosecuted and imprisoned, and there is a whole line of investigating magistrates and others who have been promoted through the ranks exactly because of their participation in this process. In terms of awareness, it's very difficult to say, but I think that there is a very vigorous human rights movement within Iran. The access to internet explains in part why there is such an awareness. There are apparently more weblogs in the Persian language than any other language other than English, which is a statistic that I've been given. Some 60,000 weblogs I've heard. Maybe my colleague would be in a better position to say. Now, in terms of hopes of reform within, we have to understand the European experience, 350 years of civil wars, revolutions, world wars, before one achieves the sort of democratic stability. Now, I'm not suggesting we should go through 2 world wars and 350 years, but the point is that you cannot simply have an instant formula for democracy. It involves a process of social political maturation. And I would suggest that Iran is the furthest along in the Middle East, in the Islamic Middle East, in that respect. And it is a very difficult situation because there is this facade of extremism symbolized by President Ahmadinejad's bellicose remarks. But immediately underneath that is a population which, as I said, is post-ideological, very pragmatic, and for the most part wants stability and prosperity and openness. So it's not that the average person thinks in intellectual terms about human rights. They want an end to corruption. They want an end to fear. They want an end to intimidation. And the final point about the U.S. democracy program, it's very difficult in such a short time to explain the complexities. I think there is a danger to the extent that civil society in Iran is perceived as an extension of U.S. hegemony in the region. And that's why I'm saying that the best thing to do in certain circumstances is to stand back and to encourage, in the same way as, for example, the African National Congress struggled against apartheid with the support and encouragement of the international community, but not the idea somehow that the movement has been co-opted. So I would say that the U.S. should not disengage, but should very carefully calibrate its engagement so that it doesn't become the kiss of death for civil society in Iran.